Hey, it's Darrian. Welcome back to the vlog. This is another episode of Writer's Log for Camp NaNoWriMo. I hope you guys have been enjoying these kinds of videos. They've been really simple for me to make, and I'm really enjoying this content style. So today's video is very long. It's probably the longest video I've ever done. So I hope you like it. But I wanted to pop in here really quick and kind of just talk, because I don't really talk much until the end. So yeah, I this week have been working on finishing up the setup of my cozy magical mystery objects romance project that I've been working on for NaNoWriMo. And as I've mentioned before, I haven't really been writing a lot. Like, my word counts have been pretty low, and yeah, I'm gonna talk more about why I think that is later, but basically this morning I just am filling out my little trackers, which has been really nice to see, actually, to have like a visual representation that's also tangible. I am one of those people who doesn't really do well seeing things on a computer screen. I have to hold it and mess with it. That's why I have a bullet journal. That's why I've bullet journaled for probably 5-6 years at this point. Anyways, so you'll see me spend a lot of time this week in my little pocket bullet journal, and I'm planning on doing a flip through kind of later, like once I nail down what my system is, and that sort of thing. but I've been in this the entire month of July. So it's been really great, and it's basically my bullet journal and also a commonplace notebook. So you'll kind of see me work through it in a couple of different ways throughout the course of this video. So yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope your Camp NaNoWriMos are going really well as well. I this week really just kind of was like struggling with motivation, which I'll talk about more later too, but my daughter ended up getting sick again this week. It seems like every time there is a NaNoWriMo event, one or both or all of us are sick. If you've been around since NaNoWriMo of last year, you know that the first weekend of NaNoWriMo, we all got the stomach bug. So yeah, thankfully it's not a stomach bug, although I'd almost rather it be a stomach bug. She has hand, foot, and mouth again, but it doesn't seem to be as crazy as it was the first time she had it. So she's recovering, thankfully, but that is why I didn't really get a lot of writing done. When my kids are sick, it just kind of throws my whole week through a loop, and my week was kind of already off because my husband is on leave right now for the next 2 weeks from the military, which is nice because I've been getting to spend more time with him, as you'll see in a little bit. We went on like a nice walk and got some smoothies, but yeah, it kind of just throws my whole week off. And yeah, I haven't really been feeling the need to put up a lot of big word count sessions. I've mentioned previously that I think this is the cleanest draft I've written. You're gonna see this is gonna be a recurring theme throughout this video of me struggling to draw straight lines in this notebook. I don't know about anybody else, but I just like absolutely cannot use a ruler. You will actually see me fail multiple times to use a ruler at the end of this video if you stick around till the end. But yeah, I'm just setting up here a little journaling section in my bullet journal because I really wanted to write about what I was feeling about my writing. I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but I really struggle with getting in my own head. And you know, I've talked openly about my mental health recently and just work stress that's been weighing on me. And this day, I remember there were a bunch of announcements that were really exciting from a lot of people that I follow online about them getting book deals, and it just is really easy for me to fall into the comparison trap and getting into my own head. And this was me kind of journaling through those feelings, which ended up being like a theme for the week, and will actually come into play again later. But I am just really insecure with where I am in my writing journey. And I'm also one of those people that, like, if things get too hard, I often just like quit or, like I said, get in my own head about it. And I've gotten some really, really great feedback on my writing recently, which is probably the one thing other than my sheer like enjoyment of writing that has kept me writing, because at the end of the day, I really do believe in the stories that I'm writing and my ability to be a writer. I just don't want to sell myself short, and also I get in my head about what project I should be working on. So if you've been around this channel a lot, know that I've pretty much bounced around projects for the last couple of years, and because I chalk that up to being still pretty early on in my like writing journey. So the draft that I'm currently working on, when I say it's my cleanest draft, I mean that it is probably the closest I have to something that's query ready right now, just because it is a well-written first draft. Like, I mean, it's still messy. Like, there's a lot of like specific things that I need to go back and fill out. But as far as like the story up to this point, I don't have the fun and games plotted out. So, you know, the first act is really solid. And I also think that this idea is highly marketable, but I struggle with not knowing whether or not I want to lead and jump into the industry with this story, because it isn't fantasy. I mean, it has fantasy elements, but it's not a fantasy story. So yeah, that's just a little bit about what was going through my head during this little journaling session. I will chat more about where my head is at and my writing related things towards the end of this video, but I wanted to give you guys some context to what was going on in this vlog. Here I pulled out Spells for Forgetting, which is one of my favorite books from last year, just to kind of like get some inspiration for the writing session that I was on. I think I ended up writing like 300, almost 400 words this session, so it was a pretty good writing session, and I set up the part where my main character is going to meet her ex for the first time in 10 years. So that was pretty exciting to write. Actually, all of the scenes that I ended up writing this week were really enjoyable. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video, and I will check back with you in a little bit. Thursday evening, I kind of made somewhat of an impromptu decision to print out everything that I had written so far for When We Were Legends. And I'm kind of going to flip back and forth between what I'm doing. But I had just finished Empire of Storms, which is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series, and I've actually now finished Tower of the Dawn as well. I was doing a tandem read of the two of those, which was amazing, but I want to wait and journal about the whole series when I'm done with it, so I immediately jumped into Kingdom of Ash, which is just, this series has really just blown my mind. So anyways, I'm just setting up my bullet journal for the next day here because I forgot to stamp my date that day, and I just wanted to kind of go ahead and do that so I didn't have to do it in the morning while I was listening to this audiobook. So anyways, after talking to my husband, I decided that I might want to revisit the idea for When We Were Legends as a novel and try to query it. If you don't know about this project, I was planning on doing it as a serial series, but I do believe that this is my best writing so far, and I really want to kind of lead with my best foot forward. So yeah, I'm just kind of, like I said, flipping back and forth between what I was doing. So I sat down with the intention of going over what I had written and kind of maybe trying to like make some sort of game plan. And then I remembered that I wanted to write a little bit about sort of like a commonplace entry about the article I mentioned earlier in the video from Goodreads, which was called How a Dragon-Themed Fantasy Became This Year's It Book. I'll leave it linked down below if anybody wants to read it, but it was just a little interview with Rebecca Yarros, who is the author of Fourth Wing, and I always find it really interesting to listen to authors or read authors talk about their own writing or what inspired their writing. And it's something that I don't do very often. So I went back to this because I had gotten distracted earlier when reading it, because she mentioned that her favorite book of all time is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. And I don't know, I mean, people who know me in my personal life know that I have a pretty salty relationship with Steinbeck from having to study Grapes of Wrath in high school, and East of Eden has been on my list of books to read for a very long time. I have had it on my shelf for years. I have a beautiful copy that has, you know, like the nice fancy like torn edges. So yeah, I just thought it was so funny that she said that East of Eden was her favorite book of all time, because like, if you've read Fourth Wing or read any of her other books, which are predominantly military romances, it's just like so different than what she writes. But I think that's something that's like so funny about writers, is that we really can find inspiration everywhere. And I've been kind of putting this into practice a little bit with the videos that I watch on YouTube. I'm someone who watches a lot of YouTube just because it's easily accessible and I don't have to sit in front of a TV. I can sit and watch it anywhere. And a channel that I've been obsessed with lately is called Untitled Paintings, and she makes vlogs very much in this style, where she kind of just like talks about her painting process. And I am not artistic. I mean, like, you can literally see me here struggle to even use a ruler. So yeah, drawing is not in my wheelhouse, as much as I would love it to be. But I've been really enjoying just seeing how other creative people approach their art. And so it was really interesting to see that Rebecca Yarros finds this book that is, a classic by like an author who's so esteemed to be her favorite book, even though it's like not even remotely the genre that she writes. So anyways, I wrote down a list of the books and authors that she mentioned, and yeah, just a couple other fun facts that I picked up from that about how she majored in history and how that inspired, the plot of this story. And I loved how she said that writing fantasy, like writing Fourth Wing, felt like coming home, because she is someone who has always enjoyed fantasy but has never written it before. This is her first fantasy novel. And yeah, it was so fun to read about all of this. I'm definitely going to be looking up more interviews with her, because I think it's really cool, and just reminds me that I need to be interacting more with the authors that I look up to and admire. So I'm actually going to make a note to read and watch some videos of Sarah J. Maas talking as well. Once I get caught up with Throne of Glass, I kind of avoid anything from that universe because I hadn't read Throne of Glass yet, and didn't want spoilers. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on here. But back to talking about my lack of motivation and struggling with my writing. I think that I'm going to relook at how I am working on, I almost said Fourth Wing. I wish Fourth Wing was my book. When We Were Legends. And yeah, along that similar vein, and also along the Fourth Wing vein, is I have an idea for a fantasy that is very much like would be writing the Fourth Wing hype, and it makes me really want to work on that and like get it out of me and like into the hands of someone else as quickly as possible. But then I get in my head about, well, I've already started so many projects that I haven't finished, and like, the act of finishing a project is something that needs to be addressed with writers in itself, because if you just keep bouncing around projects, you'll never finish anything, and then you'll never get to the end goal. But I think that is another reason why I really want to take a look at When We Were Legends and see whether or not I think it should be rewritten, which hurts me to say because I already have 20,000 words in this draft, or restructured rather, as a novel. My one fear with that is that I would lose some of the creative flexibility that writing a serial series gives you. You can do more like head hopping and things like that without, more like side quests, I guess, than a typical fantasy novel. But I am reading more like chunkier fantasies right now, I guess. So like I'm finishing up Throne of Glass, which I have Kingdom of Ash right in front of me, and it's like 900 pages, I'm pretty sure, and has multiple point of view characters. I'm pretty sure Kingdom of Ash is over 1,000 pages. It's definitely over 900. Actually, let me look. I want to know. And I also have Shadow of the Gods checked out from the library. Yeah, so Kingdom of Ash is 980 pages. Anyways, all that to say is that I'm reading fantasy that is a little like, more complex than most of the YA fantasy and other fantasies that I've read. So I think that will be helpful in this decision as well. Like, I think that there's a way that I can use the characters that I've already developed and use the story that I already have in a novel format. It's just going to require me kind of putting more guideposts along my way versus, just kind of really leaning into the discovery drafting, which is what I've been doing. I have a vague idea of what the plot of, the season is, but I kind of just go into it episode by episode instead of having like a lot planned out. And yeah, if it's going to need a lot more planning, a lot more guidelines, to be written as a novel. So that's kind of where my head is at right now. Mentally, I am feeling pretty good. I would say definitely better compared to how I have been the previous 2 months. I did start a new medication, and I'm working with my doctor on making sure I have the right medications and the right balance. I've been more tired than usual, but I also have been facing a lot of creative burnout. I am a social media manager, so my job requires a lot of creative energy from me, and then the majority of my hobbies as well are creative, like writing and reading. And so I actually can't, even YouTube is a creative hobby. I actually can't think of a single hobby that does not have some creative element to it for me that I do. Like, even reading to me is like a creative hobby because I am absorbing what I'm reading, not just for enjoyment, but for also my own writing. So yeah, if you have any like non-creative hobbies, I mean, like, I need to get back into gaming, but I just don't reach for my Switch the same way that I reach for like my phone to watch a YouTube video. So yeah, I don't know if maybe I just need to like focus, but even then that's like storytelling, right? Like, if I pick up the Legend of Zelda, like, there's a story there that I'm interested in knowing. And so I just focus on those like creative elements, the creative aspects of the games. So I don't know what that says about me, but maybe I need to just run more as my hobby, but it's been hard with my current schedule, and it gets so hot here right now. So yeah, that's just a little update on my mental health. I hope you guys are enjoying these writer's log style videos. I hope you enjoy this one, especially because this one is really like the epitome of like kind of what I am hoping to achieve with these vlogs. I don't think that I will use these to replace all of my content, but I don't know, maybe I will. They keep me accountable in a way that is not distracting from my writing, like other styles of writing videos are, which I think is important. Like, I can just kind of set up the camera and do my thing, and I don't have to, think about it. I can come back and do a voiceover later like I am now, at the end of the week. And yeah, so I think that these style of video are really good for my writing process as a whole. You can see here that I kind of got overwhelmed with the idea of channeling When We Were Legends into a novel, and eventually just decided to switch back to Fox Island, which is what I'm calling my cozy mystery object romance story. But I only wrote about 180 words, but they were good words. I really liked the setup that I was creating for that scene that I ended up writing, that you'll see here in a minute. But yeah, I think that's enough rambling from me. I'm pretty sure I have talked for, well, I know I've talked for about 15 minutes right now, and I think the earlier clip was like 20 minutes. So, yeah, let me know how your writing projects are going. Let me know if you like this style of video, and let me know what else you want to see from me. That was my Google telling me that I need to stand up and take a stretch break. So on that note, I am going to leave you with the rest of the video. So I hope you enjoy.